South Korea's U.S. alliance faces a shock test as Seoul navigates rising tensions in the region. U.S. drills cut. Seoul now opens the door for an Iran ally, raising fresh questions over its strategic shift. U.S. abandons the drills. Iran's most dangerous ally seizes the moment as Seoul reassesses its regional priorities. South Korea's biggest alliance test yet? Xi's top diplomat heads for Seoul, adding a new twist to the shifting regional equation. Just days after Trump cut back on joint U.S.-South Korea drills, Seoul is boosting ties with China, adding a fresh twist to the regional equation. China's Foreign Minister Wang is set to visit South Korea for the first time in 5 years, signaling renewed diplomatic engagement. The Chinese diplomat will be in Seoul from August 19th to 20th for a one-day visit focused on key bilateral discussions. Wang will discuss bilateral and regional affairs on behalf of Chinese President Xi Jinping, as Beijing seeks to deepen engagement. China's foreign minister will also hold talks with South Korea's top security advisor, adding another high-level channel between the two sides. South Korea-China relations are expected to dominate Wang Yi's talks with National Security Advisor Wai Sunglak, amid efforts to restore ties. China's visit comes ahead of the APEC summit in November, where Seoul and Beijing are expected to review the restoration of relations. Wang Yi's visit also comes as the U.S. allied nation has reportedly felt increasingly deserted by Trump amid shifting American priorities. President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to substantially reduce U.S. South Korea military exercises, citing their cost and tensions with North Korea. Trump said the exercises were too costly and sent what he called an inappropriate and hostile signal to North Korea. He cited his very good relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as a reason for scaling back the joint military drills. Trump said he recently asked Seoul to join the U.S. effort to denuclearize Iran, but South Korea refused the request. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "Based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, of North Korea, I am not happy with the fact that the United States has, long ago, agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. These exercises are not only costly, with much of these costs paid for by the United States of America, as usual, but send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to a country that, as long as Donald J. Trump has been president, has been unthreatening and respectful. Therefore, and based on the fact that it is too late to cancel, I have instructed Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to substantially reduce the joint military exercises." While somewhat unrelated, I recently asked the President of South Korea if they would like to join us in the denuclearization of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they said, "No thanks." Unquote. Trump said reducing the drills would help avoid sending what he described as a hostile signal to North Korea while lowering the cost of the exercises. The U.S. president defended his decision to cut down on joint military drills with South Korea, despite alliance concerns. Trump claimed the expense, along with South Korea's refusal to join the war against Iran, contributed to the decision.
Why hasn't Kim Jong-un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Did you speak to
Where
him?
are you in conversation?
And very positive. Well, just so you understand with South Korea, look, South Korea has been protected by us for many, many years. And during my first term, they agreed to pay close to $3 billion a year for protection, because we don't, they essentially weren't paying. And I asked them to do that. At my request, I said, not right. They weren't happy about it, but they agreed. I asked for $10 billion. And they were very unhappy. But we agreed for a short term that it would be $3 billion, and next year it would go up, and the next year it would go up, so they start paying for their protection. When the election was rigged and I ended up watching for 4 years and then coming back, I watched Biden rescind that $3 billion a year for whatever reason. When I called recently the president of South Korea, who I like, I think he's very nice actually, but I called him, I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you? So, and I want to help them, but, you know, when you ask somebody, would you like to give us a hand, and they say, no thanks, and then we're guarding them from a country and paying ourselves billions of dollars, it's costing us billions and billions of dollars to protect not only them, but other countries. Look at NATO. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars protecting Europe from Russia. Hundreds of billions, mostly from Russia, but from other things too. And then they say, well, they don't want to get involved with guarding the Strait, where they get most of their oil. They get 50% of their oil, and they don't want to get involved. Why are we doing it? So all I want is fairness. And South Korea, I get along with them very well, but they were paying $3 billion a year, and then they convinced Biden that I was probably a bad person, and they shouldn't, and he immediately rescinded that order. So we were getting paid. We would have been getting paid a lot more, but we can't go around and protect all of these countries, especially when they're not there to help us.
South Korea, how do you respond to folks who say that you are prioritizing the interest of adversaries in North Korea over our longtime partners by scaling back the military exercises?
No, I'm making it much safer. You see, I'm actually making it much safer. Kim Jong-un has always treated me with great respect, and we met on numerous occasions, actually, 2 primary occasions, spoken and spent time. I understand him, he understands me. You're doing war games. I get along with him. You know, he didn't like Biden, he didn't like Obama, he didn't like anybody. But I get along with him very well. Now, what I'm doing is making things safer. Just the opposite. Quiet. You're very disrespectful in front of this young man.
On August 18th, South Korea claimed a military contribution to the U.S. war against Iran remains on the cards, adding another twist.
Our government has actively participated from the outset in international discussions aimed at securing a ceasefire involving Iran and restoring freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Taking into account various factors, including the readiness posture on the Korean peninsula and procedures required under domestic law, we are in close consultations with the United States regarding possible substantive and military contributions. Our government hopes that President Trump's message will lead to meaningful dialogue between the United States and North Korea. To that end, we will continue the necessary diplomatic efforts in close coordination with the United States. Regarding the recent ritual offering and visits to Yasukuni Shrine, we have made our position clear that we deeply deplore the fact that responsible Japanese leaders have once again made ritual offerings to or visited Yasukuni Shrine, which glorifies Japan's past war of aggression and enshrines war criminals.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HD app. Download now